playing out over with the Morning Joe people and their whole roster of regulars. So David Frum apparently went on the show and made some spicy comments about Fox News. We can put this tear sheet up on the screen of him explaining how all of this went down. The headline here is "The Sound of Fear on Air. It's an ominous sign that Morning Joe felt it had to apologize for something I said." So in any case, they were talking about Pete Hegseth and all of the allegations against him. Some of the latest allegations are, per some folks at Fox say that they were concerned about his drinking, that he would show up and they could smell alcohol on him, et cetera, et cetera. So he says, and I quote, "Let's take all the drinking, all the sex pesting, subtract any knowledge of defense, subtract any leadership, and there is your next Secretary of Defense for the 21st century. If you're too drunk for Fox News, you're very, very drunk indeed." So, this is all kind of par for the course for what Morning Joe used to be, right, in the tenor of the dialogue that you would expect. And apparently David Frum had already been warned in his ear about his tone or being a little bit too edgy, et cetera. And then he goes on, he says this, and then Mika feels the need to come on air after they've dismissed David Frum, who's now apparently too edgy for the show, and says, "A little bit earlier in this block, there was a comment made about Fox News in our coverage about Pete Hegseth and the growing number of allegations about his behavior over the years. The comment was a little too flippant for this moment that we're in. We just want to make that comment as well. We want to make that clear. We have differences in coverage with Fox News, and that's a good debate that we should have often. But right now, I just want to say there's a lot of good people who work at Fox News who care about Pete Hegseth, and we will want to leave it at that." So obviously, Sagar, this comes on the heels of them making their sojourn down to Mar-a-Lago and having literally on that day, in the next hour, they lost, 40% of their audience in a time when, over the course of a morning show, your audience is supposed to build and build and build. Instead of building, 40% dropped off. MSNBC overall has lost something like half their audience. They are already, have already announced they're spinning off MSNBC along with a bundle of other cable news channels. NBC is staying at Comcast, so they're not going to have, the journalism of NBC. They said this is going to be like a well-funded startup, not music to the ears of people who are making, each of them, I think, make $10 million a year. Each of them.
Must be nice.
Each of them.
Good gig.
And they're watching, they're really in kind of a tailspin here, which I think comes out in their reaction, which happened just this morning. Thank you to our producers for getting this clip cut so that we could react to it, where they're now responding to David Frum and, the fact that he's calling them out for basically being, I guess, terrified or capitulating or whatever it is that they're doing. Let's take a listen to how Joe and Mika responded.
This got turned into a column and a headline that said that, let's see, what was the headline? "The Sound of Fear." Now, that wasn't the sound of fear. That was the sound of civility. And saying that Mika had apologized. Mika didn't apologize.
No,
She simply said it was too flippant. Now, I would recommend that if we're at a stage where a comment like this causes a meltdown, and I saw George Conway, another guy we have on the show, and
we love
George, saying, "Read this article. It's going to make you very sad, but you must read it all. Oh, because of the fearful times we're in." Well, there's some problem with the times that we're in.
You can't be fearful.
If you can't be fearful, just because some people have said that we're fearful, let me tell you something. You can talk to anybody that's worked in the front office of NBC and MSNBC over the past 22 years. I'll tell you, I'm not fearful. You talk to anybody who served with me in Congress, they will tell you, not fearful of leadership. The main complaint was that we called Donald Trump's rhetoric fascist during the campaign. And then we went down to have an off-the-record comment with him. Guess who else does that?
Let me see. From the New York Times,
the New York
Washington
Times,
Post, the Wall Street. You know what? I even think folks from the Atlantic.
I think actually,
I think they might
probably
be doing that.
If they have a chance to talk on the background with the incoming president and president-elect, they would do it. In fact, as somebody wrote during this outrageously stupid, immature a series of articles that lied time and time again about us, reporters said, well, I'd be fired if I had the opportunity to go in and talk to somebody who's incoming president of the United States, and I didn't do it. Ask any journalist at the New York Times, the New York Post.
Joe, you are not a journalist. You are a group of people who loves to just suck up to power. Like, these were the people who were the Biden whisperers. And we see where that got, the side of the aisle they were supposed to be assisting with. They were people Joe is the person who went on and was like, I've seen all sorts of Joe Bidens. This is the best Joe Biden I have ever seen. And if you don't believe it and you don't see that, fuck you.
Yeah, and 3 weeks later, what happens? He's talking about how Joe Biden needs to drop out of the race.
Incredible.
He called Trump a Hitlerian fascist. That's the thing about the Frum thing. I don't agree with what David Frum said, but okay. I mean, you can't be having a show built on histrionics of literal fascism, warning that Hitler is re-rising in America. And then what, 3 weeks later, you're in your guest's ear? That's outrageous.
Telling them to tone it down.
I'll tell you this. I've been on probably television 100 times on Fox News or some of these other channels. I've never had
I've never had that happen to me either.
I have never
Even
once.
when I was a host, I never had them like, oh, you need to tone it down.
I have never had that happen
It's
in my
crazy.
entire career.
Well, and you're so right.
Yeah.
And that was something that really irritated me too. He's like, we said some of his rhetoric was fascist.
No, you didn't.
No.
You didn't.
You said he was Hitler.
Yeah, literally. You said that.
And then, once he won, you went down to suck up and grovel and bend the knee. Don't portray this as some like brave journalistic feat. Bullshit. Bullshit. So they're in a total meltdown mode. Like, they're in a tailspin mode. I think they are truly sort of like panicked about what to do and how to maintain their relevance. And they've had a very cushy and very powerful seat at the center of power, especially, never more so than during the Biden administration. I mean, they were on the phone with him. They'd have his, John Meacham on, who was his speechwriter. That they, wouldn't even mention the, conflict of interest of this person giving this analysis on their show, whatever. None of that was over the line. But apparently, David Frum is now too spicy for them. It really is quite remarkable to see. And of course, I, cheer for the demise of this program in particular, which I think has been one of the most damaging. Like, if you care about the Democratic Party being any, better at all than they are right now and doing anything that's gonna, really deliver for working class people, these two have been so pernicious, so damaging, and so frankly effective in the project of blocking any grassroots populist energy that, to watch them struggle and spin and, have these coping meltdowns live on air is truly a beautiful thing to behold.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is hilarious, but the sad part is it honestly might work. The reason why they're policing the Pete Hegseth comments is because they still want people in power to come on their show. My hope is that the Republicans don't do this again. In fact, yesterday there was a viral photo where a Trump appointee was spotted having lunch with CNN journalist Caitlin Collins and getting doxxed live by being like, hey, check this out. Look at these people, by MAGA people who were pointing that out. But this is the dirty little secret that a lot of Republicans never want to acknowledge. Nobody wants mainstream media attention and approval more than Republican lawmakers. It's true.
Well, Donald Trump in particular.
Oh, Trump is the head of the snake, but they all like it. They love to be on CNN or any of these other places. Not even just to fight. They like the attention. They like to be feted by the people that they think embody political media.
It just occurred to me.
Yeah.
I wonder if they think maybe our next move is Fox News.
Maybe.
I don't think that's crazy to think.
Them.
And why the comments about Fox in particular triggered them.
It's a good point.
Because, MSNBC is being spun off. Well-funded startup, okay? Well-funded startup or not, you are not going to be able to afford $20 million for these pair of morons who have no audience left, right? So where else can you go and get that kind of a payday and have that kind of access to power? Fox News right now has 73% or something of the cable news market share. They're the biggest game in town. And if you're going to be relevant in the Trump era, you're probably going to be on Fox News. So, whether they, really think they can make the shift there or not, which I don't put it past them to have the level of narcissism, ego to think that, any of these
course.
networks
and
will
they
take
can,
us, blah,
as
blah,
we
blah.
have all seen, they can justify anything to themselves about